This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Sahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellow Wall podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 365 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Dortmund walking over rose petals on their way to the semi-final of the German Cup, and we will preview Saturday's big game against Bayern Munich. For all that and more joins me, the editor-in-chief of Spielverlagerung.com, who has bylines with the BBC, The Times, ESPN, NTV, T-Online Sport, the DFL, and he has a YouTube channel named after himself, Konstantin Eckner. Welcome to the show. Hello, Konstantin. How are you doing?
Hi, Stefan. I didn't ask you to include any of that, but all right. Yeah, pleasure to be here. So I'm fine.
Good. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing well myself.
On this rainy, or however the weather is over there.
It's sunny in Philadelphia today, so that's nice. And also, we have a sponsor for this episode.
Wir sind komplett schuldenfrei, wir zahlen keinen einzigen Euro an Zinsen.
This episode is sponsored by John Deals. Thank you very much, John. If you want to sponsor an episode, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall for more information. In the meantime, we have lots to get to. Konstantin, Borussia Dortmund squeezed by Gladbach on Tuesday night. It was an exciting match because the scoreline was always very tight. However, I've read many complaints of people that this game was dominated by the so-called Angsthasen-Fußball. What do you make of this assessment? Are people right that this game wasn't maybe quite as delicious to watch than the Leipzig against Wolfsburg Cup match the next day?
I mean, I didn't catch too much from the Leipzig-Wolfsburg match, so I don't have, a point of comparison there. Okay. But what I can tell you is that, especially in terms of like what Dortmund have done and do right now, is knowing their limitations, which is actually, I mean, it might be sad for some fans who still think that Dortmund is like the second best team in Germany, which they aren't. But I think it's also nice to
dropping shade at Joachim Watzke.
Of course, but I think in a way it's nice to see that like Dortmund know that that like playing against Gladbach is not like a walk in the park, and hasn't been a walk in the park for quite some time. But I think especially in a cup quarterfinal, I think that the team just knew that it will be quite dangerous, especially because Gladbach is a kind of team that can expose some of the bigger or more prevalent shortcomings in this Dortmund team through pressing and the kinds of tools Gladbach have. So yeah, I think it might have been a Angsthasen-Fußball match as you as you said, but I think after all it's more about the result, and also as I said, it's also in a way kind of neat to see that like the team doesn't overestimate their own abilities, because quite frankly that has been a part of Dortmund, to overestimate own abilities in the past, in the not so distant past actually. So yeah, that's kind of in my opinion, my book, that's kind of how I view the match. Was it a barn burner? No, it wasn't. Was it the most entertaining match ever? No, of course not. Was it the most entertaining match of the recent week? No. Was kind of boring, but there were stakes, especially if you look at the brackets. I mean, who's left? It's they're like Leipzig and now Dortmund. So and Werder Bremen probably, but there are two teams that can win that thing. So why not play it a little bit safe and win it? And I think we will later talk about the Bayern Munich match, of course, and some of the things we saw from Dortmund in this Gladbach match will also give an indication of how Dortmund might play against Bayern. Of course, different matchup, different kind of dynamic there, but still, I think we can draw some of the points away from the match against Gladbach.
Yeah, I said in the preview episode that I would expect Dortmund to stick to this 4-3-3 setup they're playing right now. This time it was Dahoud, Bellingham, and Delaney in the midfield three, and I think after 20 minutes or so, Terzic actually pushed Dahoud further up the field and put Delaney in the number 6 slot, if you will. And that obviously helped Dortmund because they had very little possession stints that were any good. I thought that Gladbach in the beginning were a bit of the better side, especially with Kramer pressing Dahoud quite a bit. Obviously after 3 games in a row and starting Dahoud, I don't think it's a big secret anymore that if you trouble him a little bit more, that it can only help your own team. And that was a bit disruptive. And obviously, if we talk about disruption, we can immediately go to the 5th minute because Rafael Guerreiro felt something in his thigh and needed to be subbed off. For him came Nico Schulz, who then obviously later went on to instigate Dortmund's goal. Overall, Konstantin, what are you making of this particular Dortmund backline? Now we had Schulz for Guerreiro. Hummels is obviously playing there, but then you had him partnered up with Emre Can, and instead of Meunier, who has been back from injury, you see now Moret on the right side. And it's a bit different than previous weeks, but it did work to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think we might see the same backline against Bayern. I mean, there's still like some hope left that Rafael Guerreiro will play against Bayern, but it looks more and more unlikely that he will play because of the injury he suffered. So I mean, Nico Schulz is the backup. Whether you like it or not, he's the backup. So yeah, I mean, he did a decent job actually. Wasn't as as up and down-ish as he has been in some of his outings this season, last season. So I like the Hummels and Can pairing in a way. I like especially Can after turnovers. He's the guy who's pushing forward, which is kind of what you want from a center back. Especially if you rely on transition attacks a lot. Not to be too cautious, to really see where there's space you can push forward especially after turnovers, to use that momentum you have there. So that's why I rate Emre Can probably more highly than a lot of people. And I rate Moret, despite some of the shortcomings he has in his game, more highly than Meunier at this point. Especially, and we will probably talk about that as well, these switch plays, these cross passes or these diagonal passes are a big factor in Dortmund's transition attacks. And one thing you can do is like play from the right half space to the left side to Sancho. Of course you can. But Moret is also someone who's quite quick on his feet, who starts running down the field quite quickly after turnovers, and who's also someone who can then receive a diagonal ball from the other side, from Schulz, for instance, or from Guerreiro, of course, if he's fit. So I think he's also, in terms of like these transition attacks, he's someone who contributes a lot. Is he the most precise and clean defender? No, he's not. But I mean, Meunier isn't as well. So it's not like there's a big downgrade from Meunier to Moret. They are two in terms of defending. They are two players who are shaky at best. But that's what you have there, and the hand you have been played. So I mean, so it's not Tercic's fault that you have these two there.
Yeah, very, very correct. I would say that Moret has actually impressed me, especially, maybe it's Matthias's fault because he jinxed him very hard by saying that basically this kid can't play and needs to be sold or loaned out. And ever since then, Moret has actually done well. There was one moment, I think it was with Thuram, where he was actually utilizing all the God-given strength that he has and actually won that duel, which kind of surprised me, but, bit of a hidden power in his arms and his upper body. So I think that's positive. Overall, I would say this game was very hard fought. I thought it felt a bit like a derby in a sense that there were really crunching challenges. I mean, Dahoud got a booking very early on, and we'll talk about the sending off in a second. But also Gladbach were not really holding back either. I mean, that Benzebaini only got a yellow card in stoppage time was a bit of a joke, to be honest, and Lars Stindl also booked. So yeah, I think that sort of characterizes the game, that a lot was at stake, especially for Gladbach, who are sort of kind of trying to salvage their season, because we all know there's probably no coming back against Manchester City in the return leg. They're 2-0 down after the home leg, and they're 9th in the Bundesliga. Obviously, they can salvage that, but now with this game, they, I think, have lost their last 4 in a row, which is obviously not making things pretty for them. And in that regard, at Tragedia 1917 simply asks, is Marco Rose good?
Well, no, he's the shit, so no. I mean, he is, but quite frankly, he has been overrated a little bit in the past. Maybe not this year, but in a way he has been overrated. I think like some people wanted to make him the next big thing in German coaching, or Central European coaching, or whatever you want to call it. And I think like he's one of the better coaches in Germany, but he's not like this world beater who will just coach his way to the top and win Champions League trophies left and right. That's just not the case, quite frankly. He had a good first season with Gladbach. He did a lot of things well. Changed the team from his predecessor, Dieter Hecking. There was a clear, you could see that his footprint or his fingerprints or whatever were all over the team early on already. So you could see that really he wanted to change things. But now this season, they have been quite atrocious, especially in the Bundesliga, because the team hasn't changed. I mean, that's basically the same team compared to the previous season, with a few additions actually. When you look at Hannes Wolf, Dennis Zakaria coming back, who missed a lot of matches in the second half of last season. So overall, I think like the team has underachieved this season. Played a pretty bad campaign. I think it was somewhat masked because of the decent matches they played in the Champions League in the group stage. But I mean, if we look back, they had 2 wins against Shakhtar, because Shakhtar beat Real, and the group was all over the place a little bit in terms of results, and Internazionale wasn't doing well. That's why in the end Gladbach got to the round of 16 in the Champions League. But of course you could see against Manchester City, like there's like a big difference. There's a lot of levels to this game, and you could see it in that match. And also in the Bundesliga, there have been so many matches played by Gladbach this year. They won some just thanks to strengths at set pieces, scoring a few set piece goals, or just Lars Stindl doing his thing, which can help sometimes. If the team doesn't really do well, then he just does something outstanding, and they win a match which they had no right to win. Also, I think the stock of a couple of these players has dropped a little bit. If you look at Zakaria, even Florian Neuhaus, I think they were in a better spot a year ago than they are now, because I don't know, I don't want to call it exposed, but to the extent they have been exposed, that they are good, but there are some holes in their games. Same for Alessandro Plea, for instance, who was a great striker in previous years, but right now, he's not even a starting 11 player most of the time. So overall, I think when we talk about Rose, the thing, and I know that Dortmund fans are asking about Rose because he's taking over in summer. I think that the biggest concern, and really where he has to prove his doubters wrong in a way, is that Gladbach have done quite badly against teams that defended deep, that was sitting deep when Gladbach had a lot of possession. Then they struggled. So now when we look at Dortmund, same thing. So is he the right coach to really change that? Because Dortmund is even a bigger team, a bigger club than Gladbach, at least in 2021. So yeah, I'm a little bit cautious there. I'm not sure. Maybe he has like a couple of ideas he can implement, and we will change things, and it will be for the better. Who knows? Maybe he will have a good to great first season, and then things will fall off a little bit. I am not sure, but like thinking that he's like as I said, like the next big thing, that's a stretch. And I think people have now realized, especially I think because of there was a lot of limelight on him, and he was exposed to a degree of media attention he hasn't been before. When he won things with Salzburg, or even his first season with Gladbach was different. Now he's like the next Dortmund coach, so that's big difference there. And I think like then people realize that yes, he's competent and he's capable and he's one of the better coaches in the Bundesliga, but he's not like, levels above the Adi Hütters and Florian Kohfelds. He's better than them, but not extremely better than them.
Yeah, so Edgediff's FC turns this question kind of around and wants to know, what if Edin Terzic ends up winning the Pokal, impressing in the Champions League, and finishes in the top 4? Are we missing out on a great manager?
I mean, he's staying at the club.
Yeah.
He's still assistant coach. So he's not leaving because... And I mean, like, it will be interesting. Because I was thinking about the Terzic situation, if you want to call it that, just recently. Because, I mean, if he wouldn't have got the assistant spot again, if Dortmund wouldn't have decided to give him like a new assistant job next season, I don't know. I know about his future because up until a few weeks ago, the impression you got was that he wasn't really a coach up to par in the Bundesliga. So, he might have gotten a job in the second Bundesliga or in the even the third league, or I don't know, in the Eredivisie or something like that. Sometimes these coaches, if they can't cut it in the Bundesliga, they go somewhere else and try it again, and maybe they have success or maybe not. But a couple of weeks ago, you had the impression that like there's no way he has a future in the Bundesliga. Burned out after a couple of months. So now it looks different. But quite frankly, he's still like at a level or in a position where I think like getting back to being the assistant coach might be for the best for him. I think he has shown that he is, and that's something I have said before in a couple of shows, I guess, is that I think because he was a scout for many years, because he was an assistant coach, he has a great eye for talent. I think he can really assess strengths and weaknesses of players quite well. Is he really a coach? Is he really someone who can come up with a plan? Put these things together, like his analysis of players, can he put it together and make a plan, make a match plan, come up with a tactic, come up with different approaches? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is he a locker room?
Number one fanboy Mats Hummels, he said after the game that Terzic is drawing up great plans, and that in Hummels' opinion, he has a great coaching career. Take that for what you will, but at least that's what he said.
Of course, that's the guy who pushed out Fafa in a way. Yeah. Right. All right. Coming back to it, but like the last point I want to make is like this. All right, if he does well now and like he gets an offer, I guess he can take it. I think Dortmund wants to keep him, but let's say, I mean, like a realistic scenario could be like this: if he, they win the cup. They maybe reach the Champions League semifinals, not get ahead of ourselves, but who knows, maybe they get an easy draw or an easy, quote unquote, easy draw in the quarterfinals, and then they go to the semifinals and maybe reach the top 4, or even the top 3, maybe, if like Wolfsburg drop off or something, who knows? Let's just think about that scenario. Then he goes back to his assistant coaching position in summer. works for Rose, which, I mean, I guess once you smell blood as a coach, once you have a taste of this, being the senior coach, being the head coach thing, I guess you want to get more. But because of where he was a few weeks ago, I think he just decided, all right, I go back to being an assistant coach, better than being out of a job. But I think, like, let's say a team like, I don't know, Bielefeld. Now, Bielefeld just got a new coach, but who knows, Hertha or, one of these teams, Augsburg maybe, they look for a new coach next fall or next winter because, first half season didn't go well, blah, blah, blah. And they look for one, and the market is quite narrow right now in Germany. Then maybe they approach Terzic and say, what about you? Would you want to take the head coach position here at our club, at a smaller team? And I guess then he will say, yes, I want to. And I think Dortmund won't stop him, won't prevent him from doing that. I guess that's kind of what I would see, because Rose is coming in with his own people. So it's not like Terzic is there to, I don't know what he will do actually. So it's a weird situation. It's something that happens a lot, but it's still a weird situation. Rose has his own team. Terzic is still there. Terzic was the assistant coach of Favre. So even another scenario could be what if Favre gets a new job somewhere? I mean, who knows? Then maybe Terzic follows him. So there are different scenarios, but I don't see him staying at Dortmund for a long, long time, because now he's exposed to the market. Now people know him. And if he doesn't do too badly for the rest of the season, I guess he has now a future in the Bundesliga, or maybe the second Bundesliga, I mean, coaching, I don't know, Bochum or something. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Because I think these past 4 games have really helped his standing, but obviously with the way the Bundesliga business is going, this can, your stock can rise and plummet very quickly. It does fluctuate, but I think his decision-making as a coach, his substitutions and his tactical adjustments have helped him, actually. I think he has improved in previous weeks. There is a bit of a learning curve visible. Obviously, I still think there can be a couple of things are to be improved. I think he can make substitutions a bit earlier in the games because this team looks very fatigued against Gladbach. For example, Haaland. I don't know if you need to keep him on for the final 15-20 minutes or so. He looks very tired, and then maybe try Moukoko or something like that. But obviously not easy decisions to make. Now, what was obviously an easy decision to make in the end, I think, was for Stegemann to send off Dahoud, because he blocked, I think it was Benzebaini from the ball, or someone else, with his elbow. The second yellow was definitely warranted in that situation. And since a lot of people have commented how he's going to miss the game against Bayern, no, that's wrong. It's not like in the Premier League where the FA Cup and such are sort of connected, that suspension carries over. That only happens in the DFL Super Cup, where if you see a red card there, you would also be suspended for the Bundesliga. But in this case, Dahoud will miss the semi-final, whoever it will be. As Konstantin said earlier, the remaining teams are Leipzig and Kiel, and Bremen and Regensburg are still to play their games, because there was postponed due to a corona outbreak in Regensburg. So we'll see about that. But the chances for Dortmund winning the cup or reaching the final are not too shabby. Leipzig are the team that they have beaten in the past, and I think Bremen has been their boogie team in the cup a little bit. And I don't know if Kiel is always a bit of a wild card that can go either way, to be honest. But obviously good for Dortmund to still have title hopes at this point. These things can always evaporate very quickly in a week. So having won these 4 games, a big turnaround. And obviously it's very good news for Dortmund that they won the game in the fashion against Gladbach they did, because the previous meeting was a 4-2 loss in January, I think, January 22nd or so. And Gladbach scored 3 set pieces. And this time it was Dortmund making use of a Gladbach set piece and starting a counterattack. And I think that was one of the prettiest and best executed counterattacks, especially with Jadon Sancho's finish just to the inside of the post. I thought that was quite a brilliant move. The only unfortunate thing is that Sancho had to be subbed off after that sprint right away and is now doubtful for the Bayern game as well as Guerrero. So that obviously sucks. One last thing we should discuss briefly, because Dortmund had a goal ruled off because Haaland, I think it was Benzebaini again, clipped him on the way to scoring the goal. Konstantin, some people said it was shouldn't be a foul, shouldn't be called off. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it was somewhat soft, but I can see the referee making this decision just because it was a goal. It wasn't like a situation in midfield where you see these things differently. I know it shouldn't be that way, maybe, but it's you see it differently than when there's a crucial situation, someone scoring a goal.
I think it was a very good call. I think it's unfortunate that he clipped him and was not intentional, but he also basically gets rid of his marker and gains a massive advantage that way. So while, it's a gray area, I think if I go to the screen and review it, that's sort of handled differently than if the VAR just tells you whether it was a clear and obvious error. If the referee just walks to the review area, he's supposed to make the best decision. So I think it's the correct call. I don't really have many gripes with it, especially since Dortmund still win in the end. So
in hindsight, it was a great call. If Gladbach win that thing, then
then it's
of course Stegemann is the idiot. Then,
exactly. Then it's a terrible call. That's the only way we handle this here, completely unbiased on the Yellowwallpod. But yeah, let's move over to the Saturday match, because there are obviously a lot of things to be discussed. Personnel-wise, Bayern will be without Douglas Costa, Pavard, and Tolisso, and on the Dortmund side, Akanji, Piszczek, Schmelzer, and Witzel are the long-term injured. And obviously Guerrero and Sancho are doubtful. And the first question comes from @LondonLDN, and he wants to know which game has more priority, Sevilla or Munich?
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, both. I get it that if you lose against Bayern, it's not that big of a deal right now because it's not a championship deciding match for Dortmund. I mean, in a way, of course, Leipzig, they are hoping that Dortmund do something against Bayern, but I mean, Dortmund, they don't have to care about Leipzig. If you lose against Bayern right now, it's not a big deal. In my opinion, it's not reputation damaging or something. And in terms of you don't really battle for the championship against Bayern, but on your end, you're still are fighting for the Champions League spot. And I mean, in a bigger picture, it's more important to get to the Champions League, to be qualified for the Champions League next year, or for next year's Champions League, I mean, than whether you're reaching the quarterfinals. What?
It's more important to get to the Champions League than to be in it, is what you're saying. I think that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, there's financially, it's quite important to get out of the group stage, because then you get a lot of money, over the winter break. But of course, if you are out of the Champions League, then you lose a lot of money. You don't really lose a lot of money, or you don't really gain a lot of money if you go to the quarterfinals instead of just, being knocked out in the round of 16. There's not the money gap between these knockout stages is quite small, actually. But of course, if you don't go to Champions League at all, you lose a lot of money, especially in Dortmund's case. Or you don't lose money, but you don't receive money. And especially in Dortmund's case, they have planned their budget with that kind of money. So, in their plans, their financial plans, they have assumed that Dortmund are always playing Champions League, at least group stage. So if you are out, that's a bad thing. So you have to go all out against Bayern, not because it's Bayern and you want to beat them for reputation or whatever, because it's called their Klassiker everywhere apart from Germany.
Yeah, Dortmund USA wants the over-under on the amount of times we hear, quote, their Klassiker on the ABC broadcast. And yeah, that's just going to...
ABC? It's not ESPN?
Quick sidebar, it's going to be the first time that this game is on I think, national television in the United States now. Although I think it was on Fox before, but ABC is also kind of big. So
isn't it ESPN? What's going on there?
Yeah, ESPN and ABC are a bit conjoined. I'm not entirely sure how, but ESPN or ABC also sort of share some NBA games and stuff like that. But please don't name me down on it, because I might have this entirely wrong. But there's no
worries. I mean, it's important for the people to know where it is, right? Where it's broadcasted.
If you're in the United States, make sure you watch it on ABC, so you don't have to log into.
Yeah, make sure you watch it on ABC and not on Fox, because you.
Yeah. But to revert to that question, if I may answer, I think that the priority needs to be the Bundesliga right now. The top 4 finish is more important, and hence, as much as I love Champions League, that's my answer. Question from @FCBBVB: If Sancho and Rafa are given the okay to play, do you start them or keep them on the bench to rest for Sevilla? Konstantin, I would say this is sort of an interesting question, because obviously you want the best team to play against Bayern, but at the same time you do need to think about the future past that Bayern game, and if both players start and then pick up an injury, and you sort of risk that they won't only be out for the Sevilla match, they will probably miss for other crucial games. So how do you see that? Because I think maybe Dortmund need to be a bit cautious with that. As much as it would pain to not have these as starters.
I mean, it really depends what the injury is, and I can't really assess that without having this inside knowledge, basically, how, because I mean, from what we can tell right now is that if the two play, they won't be at 100%, but it's still it matters. Are they at 95%? Are they at 80%? And just get a couple of mats and then go out there, or what's going on there? So I'm not sure. So that's why I can't really say yes or no, A or B. Generally, if a player is not really fit, and you have you have basically to put in on some kind of medicine to, to basically turn off his senses, so to say, so he doesn't feel any pain. That's usually the case when you shouldn't play him.
Yeah.
Just in general, detached from the Guerrero Sancho situation. Just in general, better not play him, because that's not how it should be. But that's my problem in a way. Usually I would say if they are fit, if they are not on the injured list, to put it in a NFL speak, then I assume that they are 100%. But that's, of course, in reality, it's not the case.
No.
So maybe they are cold fit.
That both these players were carrying knocks into the Gladbach game. And that's probably true for a lot of players. I mean, if you just look at
but there's also variations, right? There's varying degrees of being knocked.
Yeah. I mean, at this point of the season, it's very rare that players don't have little niggles here and there. That's just par for the course, and so you can obviously talk about painkiller abuse and all that kind of subjects, but we don't have time for this. To be honest, speaking of painkillers though, Ed Cabana Swede wants to know, can our defense hold up against Bayern's attack? Now, obviously, Bayern's attack mostly is Robert Lewandowski, with the 28 goals he has scored in the Bundesliga thus far, which is an amazing number. But obviously, goals for is at 67 after 23 match days, which is rather audacious. The second best attack in the Bundesliga is already Dortmund's with 48, and after that is Frankfurt and Stuttgart. And interestingly enough, Wolfsburg, who are in third place, only have 37 goals to their names. And so there's a bit of a gap even between the second best and the first best attack. So Konstantin, I know this is probably a more complex answer, but how can Dortmund's defense contain this Bayern team?
Well, in Stuttgart is only up there because they scored 5 against Dortmund.
And Schalke.
Yeah, and Schalke, like Stuttgart, they have like their new campaign thing is like just beating on these West German clubs.
Yeah, okay. So Bayern also, like, right on the first match day, they just shellacked Schalke 8-0. That obviously helps too.
I know. Playing Schalke in general helps your helps your scores in your position in the table and stuff like that. Of course, there would be a more complex question. I think if we like put it in a wider context, I think that the most important, let's say, duel in a way, although it's not really a duel, isn't really happening in terms of like Lewandowski against Emre Can, Lewandowski against Hummels or something like that. Of course, Lewandowski is like kind of their biggest weapon, but usually he benefits a lot from the distribution he gets. And the space he gets, or the space he creates for himself, of course, but also the space he just has because the team behind him does a lot of work. So I think like the more important part, the more interesting matchup here is like Kimmich Goretzka against, let's say, Dahoud and Delaney, or Dahoud, Bellingham, Delaney. Who knows? I think that's the more important matchup because containing Kimmich and Goretzka is like even more difficult, in my opinion, than Lewandowski. You can defend Lewandowski in a way for most of the time. Maybe he will score one, but that's all right. But Kimmich and Goretzka can like break your team basically, especially if they are together. Kimmich alone is like counter-pressing machine, but Kimmich with Goretzka, now there's also the speed and dynamic part covered, and like Goretzka can do a lot of forward runs. Kimmich can back him a little bit, but also Kimmich can go forward and like Goretzka can back him. So it's like these two then coupled with the other players, of course, but these two are the engine of this team. And on the other side, Dortmund, they have like talented center midfielder like Dahoud and Bellingham, but of course we know that these two, or even Delaney, that these two might be up to par against Kimmich or Goretzka, but we are not sure right now. And I think if they can contain Kimmich and Goretzka, then like Dortmund has a chance to at least get a point. If they can't really do that, and Terzic has to make changes halfway through the match, which will be difficult because there is not another center midfielder on the bench apart from Tobias Raschel, basically. So,
well, you can play
or maybe
Brandt in that position as an
he
8.
could play Brandt, but like especially Brandt. I guess especially Brandt against Kimmich and Goretzka, like that will be a nightmare for Dortmund. I guess right now, especially in the condition Brandt is. So, right, do you contain them? Can you get on their nerves, get around Kimmich's counterpress? Can you maybe, give Goretzka an early knock or something, slow him a little bit down, stuff like that? Can you do that, or are you not able to do that? Like, that's the big question, in my opinion. If you can't do that, of course, then Lewandowski will have a field day, because then he will get all these passes, and then it's hard to really, take him out of the match. And then he will score. But it's really, 20, 30 yards behind him, that's really where the most important matchup is really played.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what Bayern is doing so well is obviously their counter pressing, and that's certainly the next question I have, because Dortmund's defense, believe it or not, also especially against Bayern, depends very much on Dortmund's own ability to keep the ball and have phases of possession and manage to evade Bayern's pressing. And this is obviously where they then can transition into dangerous attacks themselves. I think the recent performances against Bayern Munich have been a bit more promising for Dortmund in the Super Cup and the league. They have not been blown out completely, but I think I heard today, was it on the press conference, that Dortmund's last 5 trips to the Allianz Arena in the Bundesliga has resulted in a goal difference of 24-2 or something crazy like that. So exactly, it's been a massacre recently. Who do you expect to start in Bayern's front 3 behind Lewandowski? Because against Cologne it was Choupo-Moting, Musiala and Sané. I would assume that maybe Gnabry and Müller come back into that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Müller is ready, so he will play. So Musiala is probably on the bench. I think Musiala might be the first option if Hansi Flick wants to get another, attacking player on the field. But Gnabry and Coman will probably start. Sané is, of course, the other backup they have. But I think like they will right now. Gnabry, Müller, and Coman is the first string attacking midfield, so to say. Musiala is there. Musiala is their biggest talent, and he has played a couple of matches against Lazio and against Cologne, and that's all right. I think in this kind of game against Dortmund, because there's still a lot of respect for Dortmund, even coming from Bayern, despite the average season Dortmund have played, or the below average season, and there's still a lot of respect, and I think that's especially the kind of match where Hansi Flick will pick Müller, because it's just experience and just being Müller and finding these spaces our players don't find. That's why he will probably pick him. And Gnabry and Coman, they might not have the most highlight reel heavy season, but just consistency is the big key here for these two. Might not have world beaters all the time, but there's a lot of consistency there, and I guess that's also something you want to have against Dortmund, because the less wellies you have in during the 90 minutes, the better for Bayern.
Yeah. I gotta say, I'm quite worried, because the problem for Dortmund is that Bayern usually bring their absolute A game against Dortmund, because it's still a prestigious game, and Dortmund are often considered the second biggest team. I don't know if they're considered the second best team right now. I think that award probably goes to Leipzig, because they're pushing Bayern for set title right now. And if Leipzig overcome Freiburg, and if Dortmund win this match, we actually will have a change at the top of the table, which if it weren't for Leipzig would actually be exciting. Sorry if I have to say this. I know you have a different opinion, and I think overall it helps the Bundesliga to have a title race, and would be nice for Dortmund to have a hand in that, even though I'm, personally, I wouldn't be celebrating if Leipzig win the league, but, also not really in Dortmund's hands right now, what's going on at the very top of the table. Dortmund need to pay more attention to even make it to the top 4 spot. So yeah, we've talked about Bayern's sort of approach a little bit. How do you think Dortmund will fare? Because my expectation is, and I might be wrong here, is that we would see again a 4-3-3 setup with more density in midfield, and then obviously leave the counter pressing to Reus and Sancho, obviously, if he's available, or Hazard, I guess, would be the other alternative. And then Haaland, of course, hoping to get him in behind Bayern's backline, which probably will be Süle and Alaba, Kimmich, not Kimmich, Alaba, Boateng, and who was the one? Oh yeah, Davies. So yeah, this is this.
Well,
this is probably Dortmund's plan. They had a couple of moments in previous games where Haaland was 1-on-1 against Neuer, but Neuer most of the time won this duel, but also is very quick to the ball, leaving his goal line. But maybe this time will be the time that Haaland is a bit quicker and gets to the ball before Neuer. Konstantin, Bayern have not been completely flawless. Yeah, thank you. So how do you think Dortmund need to proceed to punish Bayern's weaknesses?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we all watched the first match between these two teams earlier this season. I know, still with Lucien Favre in charge at Dortmund, but still, I think like this match will look quite similarly. If you remember the first match at Dortmund, they were really counter heavy, playing a lot of long balls over the left side against Pavard. Pavard is probably will not play, but they have like Süle there right now, so still like someone you can target because he's not the quickest player. Surprise. So I guess that there will be kind of a counter heavy Dortmund team with the 4-3-3. You got these three midfielders, especially Dahoud and Bellingham, who will, of course, after turnovers, they will try to accelerate Dortmund's plays and play these switch balls probably to Sancho, or maybe if Sancho is not available, then someone like Hazard or Reina will play. Just someone who has quick feet and who can make these runs behind Süle on the left side and Haaland through the middle. And so you will see Dortmund have their moments and maybe even score. I don't know. I mean, they had the chance to score against Bayern in the first match, more than they did.
They scored 2. I mean, it was a 3-2.
Yeah, but they had. I wanted to say they had a chance to score 4 or something.
Yeah, the expected goals for Dortmund was 2.0 according to FBref, and for Bayern was 1.1.
All right, but but that sometimes can be a 4 goal a game for a team. If they have 2.1 or something in terms of expected goals.
I was just gonna say though, like usually when Dortmund have a expected goal value of around 2, it's more likely they score 3 or 4.
Right. And like in the match, I mean, if you remember, there were, like, as you just said, Haaland has had a few situations where he had a chance to score another goal against Neuer and he didn't, and like there were all these discussions. Now he shows his youth and immaturity or something, like all this BS. But whatever. But I think like this match will look quite similarly in terms of like Dortmund will hit Bayern with counterattacks. They might score a goal here and there, but Bayern will also show their strengths. So maybe it's not a shootout, or maybe not the kind of shootout we had in the first match, but Dortmund won't look as like totally overmatched. If they will win it, I don't know. Like if we will look back at some of these matches in recent years with like basically the same teams more or less, like a few changes here and there, but basically the same teams. Dortmund had a couple of matches where they didn't look like they had any right to be there and any chance to beat Bayern. But also you got like the first match this season where you saw, okay, Dortmund actually can beat them. I think the underdog role suits them quite well in such a match. If they really can capitalize on and win it, I'm not sure, but they won't look like they are totally overmatched. Like that's something I'm very certain about.
I mean, the honest truth here is that it more depends on whether Bayern Munich have an excellent day or just a good day or a mediocre day.
Or just a Weissbier day.
Yeah, because if you think back to the Super Cup match, for example, in that game, Bayern were pretty good for a long stretch, but then they completely dropped off in the second half, and Dortmund almost rallied back to equalize that game, and they came very close. If something like that happens again to Bayern, where they sort of collapse and fatigue, which is nothing out of the ordinary at this point of the season. I mean, Dortmund were pretty tired after the midweek game, and that's, I guess, a big advantage for Bayern that they didn't have a cup match, which was pretty straining. So this is what I think will really happen, and I think we talk more about Dortmund's energy levels in games against Bayern than any other match, because I mean, most famously, obviously, the Champions League final, where Dortmund really drained all their energies like in the first 30 minutes or so, and then were a bit flat-footed later on. I'm intrigued how Dortmund will approach this, because they will have to not blow it all out right away either. So this is something I think that will have more of a focus. But obviously, it's also down a bit to match luck. Obviously, if Bayern score 2 goals early, then this competition might be over, and it could be another massacre. But at the same time,
of course.
Yeah, it's a bit of an open game. What I would say is that I'm just looking forward to it and see how this Dortmund team that just had 4 wins on the bounce now approach the Allianz Arena. And I think it will answer some questions about the overall form of Bayern, of Dortmund, because that's obviously a big test. Full stop.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, a massacre would, like we talked about, like what's more important, the Sevilla match or the Bayern match. Of course, a massacre wouldn't help for the Sevilla match as well, because then you go into the match and you have self-doubts and all the stuff. So yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think so unless there's like something, as you said, like an early penalty and then another goal within 10 minutes or so, and then things can go south quickly. But that's something, like, quite frankly, that could also happen against like Gladbach in the cup.
Exactly.
If you concede like 2 goals early on, who knows what's going on? Like maybe you lose by 4 or 5. Who knows? You know, and that can happen when you play Leipzig or even Eintracht Frankfurt or something in the Bundesliga, or Sevilla or someone else in the Champions League. So that there's a possibility. Of course, Bayern are more ruthless than a lot of teams. Still, like if it's like a normal game and there's like nothing outrageous going on early on, then I think like Dortmund have a fair chance to at least look decent, look good. And, you know, be competitive. And I think right now it might not be satisfying to a lot of fans, but right now that's something you should be satisfied with if they look competitive against Bayern, because like just remember like what kind of a shit show this season has been. Apart from a few shining lights, it has been kind of a shit show with, you know, managerial changes, losing matches, getting beaten by Stuttgart and so on, like not getting beaten, getting liberated by Stuttgart and stuff like that. So let's be glad. Let's be happy if like Dortmund look competitive against Bayern right now, because that's not the season where I really could challenge Bayern, of course.
Yeah, no, but for this one game, I really hope Dortmund shows up to their very best. Interesting, obviously. Something we haven't discussed, and I think there's a question in that pertinence. I think Ed Awesome Bill asks, will Kimmich be so brave to tackle Haaland this time, given he sustained an injury last time he tried to throw himself at the galloping beast? But the other question I'm actually looking for is, will he be able to chip hits like he did Bürki last season, as they had extensive data on Bürki, but maybe not hits? Question mark, because obviously right now I think Roman Bürki has been benched and Marvin Hitz has not really given too many reasons to drop him, and obviously it's a difficult season for Roman Bürki, and the goalkeeper question is very much open for the Black and Yellows. So that being said, how do you think the involvement of Hitz will, if at all, change this game for Dortmund, for the better or worse?
I mean, personally, I don't really see that much of a change. I think Hitz has done okay in terms of like build-up plays. He's still not the kind of keeper you want, because he doesn't really get involved too much. Or I mean, if he gets involved, he's not contributing anything else than like just, you know, safe passes. So it's not what you really need or want from your goalkeeper, especially with Dortmund like having these struggles at the back, needing basically a playmaking goalkeeper. They have like basically 3 center backs, you know, more or less in build-up. So he's not doing that. And like the Kimmich chip ball last season, yeah, I mean, it was like a tremendous goal, so it wasn't like really Bürki's fault. It was just an outstanding goal. I think if like was it the last match, or was it I don't remember, like it was one of the recent matches where Kimmich tried that same thing, like a chip ball, you know, from the right half space from outside, just outside the box, and like he completely botched it. Like he got no air under the ball basically. So I mean, just remember, like Kimmich is like one of the great midfielders in Germany or in Europe, but it's not like he will hit that kind of ball every hour day now. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if he will be brave enough to make that tackle against Holland. I guess so, because I mean, Kimmich is kind of a madman. So it's not like he will think twice about it and like, oh no, I got injured last time. He will more like, all right, just, you know, in the moment, he will just go for it again.
I'm actually a bit more disappointed that people are not asking about how Manuel Neuer will deal with the goal threat that is Mahmoud Dahoud now. But sure. I think one last question, though. I know we have a lot of American listeners. Is obviously Gio Reyna's role in this game, because with Sancho being out, potentially he could even start. Now, recently, I would say especially in the tactical sense, he has not covered himself in glory. His position game has been micromanaged by his managers, and he has not, let's say, been as industrious, for example, as Bellingham was, if you want to draw that particular comparison against Gladbach. So, Konstantin, if he gets the nod in this very big game, what does he need to do better than he has done in recent games to earn maybe another start against Sevilla or whatever? Was it just be better than Julian Brandt or Hazard?
I guess so, yeah, right. I mean, I guess it's I'm not sure. I mean, being better than Julian Brandt is like not that hard right now. So hard to say. Like it really depends. Like singling out a player is hard for me to do, especially with this Dortmund team. Like apart from Haaland and Sancho, there, all of these players had like ups and downs over the past few months. So like there's not so even like Sancho had his ups and downs, but quite frankly, I mean most of the time he's one of the best players in the league, and Haaland's the same. Like sometimes he's not, not as present as he should be, maybe, or as you expect from him. But most of the time, he's just Haaland, basically.
Yeah.
So being Haaland is like kind of a thing in world football now. So yeah, I mean, like singling out a player is hard for me because I haven't really seen anyone else besides these two who has been like a world beater for most of the time, and so that's why I also like when I get asked like what's the best starting 11 or something like that. Like I really have a hard time with Dortmund right now because like I look at the team and I see like players like Hazard, as you said, like even Moukoko, Mounier, like we had the Mounier-Morey discussion, even like Paslak, maybe Zagadou, like all these players. Like you think about it and I think like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe they should play, but maybe Delaney should play, but Delaney has also like his faults. Dahoud the same, Bellingham the same, Royce the captain, so like there's something else to it, but hard to say, really. And I'm actually looking forward to this Bayern match now because I just really want to see like who's up for par and who's not, and like Terzic will make some have some. I mean, maybe not, but maybe during the match he might have to make some difficult decisions.
Yeah, I mean, Terzic has made some good adjustments previously, but obviously playing against Bayern is always a different kind of bag. And speaking of adjustments, I mean, I think was it Lucien Favre who subbed off Jadon Sancho a couple Bayern games ago after like 30 minutes because Sancho was just not really doing anything to help Dortmund's matters, and we'll see. But right now, if Sancho plays, I expect him to perform more maturely than he did back then. But I don't want to then annoy you with any further individual player questions, and I think it's time to move on to the predictions. So, Konstantin, how do you think this game will result? How do you think this game will end in the scoreline?
Slow and easy. I guess it will be 2-1 Bayern win. Sorry, but I guess that's just how it works these days.
Yeah, that's a very realistic prediction. I think that Dortmund will hold Bayern to a point and will have a 2-2 draw. That's my prediction. Anyway, as always, Konstantin, thank you for coming on and being a good sport. Now, please tell our listeners how to find you on the interwebs with all your Twitter and YouTube, etc. things going on.
Oh my god! I'm so excited. I mean, just check me out on Twitter, cc_Eckner. Then you can go to YouTube, as you said. Like if you're a German speaker or like if you understand German, of course. Then you can check out my channel. It just type in Konstantin Eckner, Konstantin with a capital C, or just youtube.com/Konstantin Eckner. That's also something you can do. And of course you can also listen to my podcast with Abel Mezaraj, the Football Pod on Spotify, iTunes, and so on. Just our latest episode we have done with Jan Ager Fjotov, former Norwegian striker and now TV pundit, also I think for ESPN. And we talked a lot about Erling Haaland, the fellow Norwegian who Fjordhoff knows quite well because of his connection to Alfie Haaland, the dad.
Yeah, very well. Please check that out. You can obviously follow all of us at Yellowwallpod. You can follow me at Stefan Butzko. And if you want to subscribe to the show, you can also do that on YouTube or also iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, etc. Even Google Play and Verbal. So many options to subscribe to this podcast. You can find the RSS on our website, theyellowwall.net, where you can also find our written content. If you want to contribute financially and help us out, keep this show running, then you can, like John Deals did, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall for more information, or just hit me up if you have any questions. In the meantime, I hope everyone stays safe and has an enjoyable Bayern game, however you are watching this, and we shall be back then next week with a discussion of the Bayern game and of course another preview of the second leg against Sevilla. So it's a big week, lots of things to look forward to. Until then, as always, thank you for listening and goodbye.